I go back and listen to that, and I was like, wow, I was upset. I was cursing left and right. It was, but people were like, holy. But you have to understand though, there's very few people in my space who are willing to be vulnerable. And as an artist, you need to be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable because people respond to vulnerability. People respond to authenticity. And it's scary. I've talked about my weight issues. I've talked about meditation. I've talked about my worst failures. I wrote an entire book exposing the soft underbelly of my worst time of my life to help other people. So other people could read that story and get through whatever they're going through, or maybe avert them from going down the path that I went through. You know, I'm willing to do things like that because I truly do care about my audience. I truly do care about my tribe. This whole thing with Distributor that's came up, that they're screwing a lot of filmmakers and all this kind of stuff. For people who don't know what's going on, there's an aggregator called Distributor who's basically gonna lose filmmakers literally millions of dollars. And control. It's a bad situation. When I found out what was going on, I was the only one that stood up. And I came out with guns a-blaring because I wanted to make sure my audience was aware of this and to protect them and to give them information about it. And that was last week, literally. You don't see anybody else doing that. There's no other media outlet currently. There might be in the future. I'm not going to say who, but there's no media coverage of something of such high magnitude where so many filmmakers are being screwed. Literally, this company's probably going to go bankrupt any day now. They're going to file, and they're going to take all these movies. They literally got probably around 4,000 titles, and thousands of filmmakers are owed millions of dollars. You know, it is brutal, but I stood up and I wanted to make sure I'm not making a dime off of that. I've exposed myself. I put myself out in the firing range, if you will, but I did it because it had to be done. And I truly care about my tribe. I truly care about my community. And even furthermore, I care about the filmmakers outside of my community who've never even heard of me. I want to make sure that all of them have a safe space to do their work and give them the tools and advice and inspiration or whatever I can give them so they can make a living doing what they do. You know, I've been blessed now to be able to make a living doing what I love to do, which is indie film hustle. And I want that for everybody. There's no reason why everybody can't have it. And I have stories from people, I mean, literally, if you remember that episode of Hollywood, you know, where Isaac, a filmmaker in Uganda with $200 movies, editing on Adobe Premiere 1.5 and learning it from help files and putting out movies. And he's built an entire film industry in his country with nothing. And he's able to do it. So I don't want to hear it from anybody. If a guy like that with those resources, without any education in this business, can do it, and now it's turned it into an industry where it provides for his entire family. He's an artist in Uganda, making a living, traveling the world now with his movies. Whether you like him or not, it's irrelevant. His audience loves him, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, that you provide a service to your audience, whether as an artist, as a businessman, as a combination of both.
All right, to backpedal a little, you did your first feature, This Is Meg. You shot it in, was it 2017 or 2016?
16, 17, something like that.
So you decided to put your money where your mouth is and shoot your own feature. What was This Is Meg's origin?
The origin was I was attached to another project with a big-time screenwriter at the time. I was casting already. We were going down the road again, and it fell apart again. And I said to myself, I'm 40, man. I can't do this anymore. I can't keep chasing this golden carrot. I've got to do something. I got to climb this mountain that I've built, which is the feature film. I got to do it. So that day, when I made that decision, I called up a friend of mine who's a stand-up comic. She's been a friend of mine. She was like, I met her 3 months after I got here. And I said, I want to make a movie, and I want to make it about your life as a stand-up comic who's not 21 anymore and an actress trying to make it in Hollywood. And she said, oh, sure. Okay. I'm like, and we're going to shoot it like the Duplass brothers and Joe Swangsberg did. We're going to do it kind of like mumblecore style, but with a little bit better production value. And we're going to use a scriptment. So, call up all your friends who are improv actors and let's rock and roll. 30 days later, we were shooting.
30 days later.
30 days later, we were shooting because I didn't want to give my mind a chance to talk me out of it. And then I actually started to stress my mind even more, but I'm like, you know what? I'm also going to be the cinematographer this time. I've never DP'd anything in my life. Really. I've been a colorist for over decades. But I'd never been a DP. So I knew that I could get at least a good image because I knew I could fix it in post because, that's what I could do. So I did that. And then I'm like, okay, and we're going to do it for X amount. And then we're also going to crowdfund something I've never done. And we're going to shoot it with a skeleton crew. And we're going to do this. And all this stuff was brand new. I'd never done any of this. I'd worked on big commercials, big shows, with much larger budgets. And I just said, I can't do this anymore. I have to do it. And I did.
When you decided, okay, the scriptment's ready, was there certain pieces like, okay, I need sets first, or I need actors first, or I need crew first? Was there any pieces that you just said, I have to do it in this order, or let's just see what resources?
So this was a thought process behind it. I'm gonna quote the masterpiece baseball movie Bull Durham. It is a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. And I took that analogy into film. I'm like, what do I need to make a movie? I need a camera, I need lenses, I need actors, I need locations, I need sound, and I need people to be in it, and a story to tell, I didn't consider post because that's my world, so I didn't consider post. That's all I need. I'm like, okay, great. So I grabbed the camera I owned, which was a Blackmagic cinema camera 2.5K that I was shooting my olive oil shows with. I had one lens, or a few lenses, and I bought a Mackie recorder. I bought a Rode mic, and I bought a boom pole. I learned how to. I took a course on how to record audio properly. I took a course on cinematography online. I'm like, okay, cool, I got it. And then I just called up a couple friends who are, crew people. I'm like, hey, can you come out and help me? But most of it's going to be all me. I was going to be a camera. I built out this huge rig, which I changed later. But it was a huge rig. And I shot this movie. And that was it. That was it. I was like, I'm going to strip this down. Because I'd built this up so much. Oh, you need this, you need that, you need this camera, you need that camera. I'm like, no. Can I get a good image? Can I tell a good story? Can I just get it done? And that's the way I went about it. Just stripped it down to its core. And on top of that, I publicly said something about it on my podcast. So now I'm in the hook for it. So I exposed myself in multiple ways. Like this could all come crashing down. And it could look horrible, but I just knew it wouldn't. I knew I would get something out of it. I knew, and the talent that I had in front of the camera was amazing. These actors were great. Some of these actors, I'm like, how is this happening? This is insane. But when you jump, a net appears in many ways. And again, I say that from a point of view of someone who cooked the rice. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do that at the beginning of my career. And I want people to understand that. If you're 20, this might not be the path for you. You need to cook the rice. You need to chop that wood and carry the water. You've got to do that for yourself first so you can have those tool sets. You can have those skills, that experience to fall back on. Because I had already directed a ton of stuff by the time I got to Meg. But I was challenging myself in many other ways while shooting Meg. And it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful experience. And then we world premiered, I finished it. We world premiered at CineQuest, which was a great experience. And we self-distributed it. We sold it to Hulu. So, I licensed it to Hulu for a year and, went through the whole process of it and then sold it internationally to a few territories. This is a $5,000 movie that I shot 30 days after I came up with the idea.
You shot it
Only 8 shooting days, right?
8 shooting days, never went past 12 hours. I think most of the times it was like 6 hours because we just shoot basically a couple scenes because that was the actors, and a lot of times it was just me and Jill. Like literally that was it. It was just me, Jill, and I would shoot her doing things and in the story, and it would just be the two of us. So a lot of the movie is just literally her and me doing scenes together. I would set the mic up on a stand. I'd tell her, don't move, and we shoot. And I would move. Yeah, it was just, it takes a level of cojones to do a movie like this that not many people have, not a lot of people have. You're risking a lot, but not really, because I crowdfunded this. Financially, there was no risk because we crowdfunded it. So I already made the money that I needed to make I was in the black while I was shooting.
Good.
So I'm golden. I'm golden at that point. I'm like, let's experiment. Let's have some fun. Let's play. And that's what I did. And then I took my audience for a ride with it, as you know, and we just saw it. So and we just went down that path. But I just got out of my own way. We build up. I built up. It was 20 years, man. That was the dream. I'm sure it's your dream as well. Like I want to make a feature, but you build it up in your head so much. Like, oh, I need this or I need that, or the first movie I make has to be Reservoir Dogs. It's got to be Sex, Lies, and Videotape. It's got to be Brothers McMullen. It's got to be Clerks. It's got to be, Paranormal Activity. It has to explode out, and my career can start that way. What will people think if it's not? BS. Go out and make your movie, man. Go out and make your movie and just do. I'm much more about the person who does than talks about it or analyzes it, because when you do that, you're just afraid. You're just scared, because I was terrified. And I was dealing with baggage from the shooting for the mob times, where I associated shooting a feature film with the worst time of my entire life. So subconsciously, my mind was sabotaging me every single time I tried to make a movie. On many ways. And that's a deeper conversation. But there was other things that were going on. But when you make excuses, oh, I need this or I need that, you're scared. You're scared. You're scared. So what gets rid of fear? Certainty. So how are you going to get certain? By cooking the rice, by pounding the stone. I had the certainty in my bones that I knew I would get something of some sort of quality up on the screen. Exactly how, I don't know, but I was confident enough to do it. If you tell me today, Alex, I'm going to give you $250 million, and I'm going to go shoot the next Batman on IMAX, this might be a conversation. Am I capable of doing something like that? Sure. Would I want to expose myself to do something of that magnitude before I ever get to make a movie of $20 million or $30 million, or understand the politics of how it works? That's a massive amount of it's a different scenario that you need to really understand. So I don't really know. I'm not sure. Look, don't get me wrong. I'll take that meeting with Marvel. If they call, I'll take the meeting. But don't know how it would work. Mark Duplass and Jay Duplass turned down Marvel when they offered him a movie. He's like, nah, it's not really what we want to do. That's someone who's very self-aware about what makes them happy. And they're like, we don't want to play in your sandbox. We have our own sandbox, but thank you. Because when you play in their sandbox, you're going to play by their rules. And
that's why you go see their movie. Because they're them. Why you see a Tim Burton movie, and why you see Spielberg? Because that's their authenticity.
That's their authenticity. And not that there's not authenticity in those. I love Marvel films. I love Endgame. I love Avengers. I'm a huge geek. As you can see in the back, I have a life-size Yoda in my room. So, I'm a huge fan of those movies, and they're authentic for those filmmakers. Yes. The Russo brothers made short films before they got their shot. And look at them. They're doing all right. The Duffer Brothers, who did Stranger Things, same thing, So it's interesting. It's interesting, the whole conversation. But yes, that's how This Is Meg. It's a long answer to a short question.
So, This Is Meg. It's great. You have this premiere, and now you're saying to yourself, is it time to make another movie this soon?
Yeah, I said to myself, there was an opportunity that presented itself where I have a friend of mine who owns $1 million condo on Main Street in Park City. And we stayed there the year before where I was doing interviews and things like that, and we were working together. So this year we were getting together. That year we were getting together. Like, what are we going to do this year? And I said, I think it'd be irresponsible of us not to shoot a feature film this year. And he said, continue. I'm like, yeah,